I'd see kids just kind of drawing sneakers anyway when they got done with their assignments early or something like that. I was like, you know what, we should make this a project. It's funny because kids that like normally would maybe been like checked out of class and like not really wanting to engage, they're like, wait, what? I get a chance to design a shoe and it could actually be made in real life? Like, of course, like I'm going to try.
Welcome to the Unrulr Podcast, where we interview innovators who are really living and breathing student-centered learning. I have the privilege, the honor of having Andy Dutton join us. Andy is technology and CTE teacher at Willow Creek Middle School. Andy is a sneakerhead's sneakerhead. He is the freelance photographer for Under Armour, Rejuvenator, and is one of the coolest content creators I have come across in a long time. Andy, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that introduction as well.
Andy, I want to start with some context on what you do and how all of these different worlds that you're in kind of feed into each other.
Sure. So I mean, I don't know, I kind of have always told myself and fashioned myself as a jack of all trades, master of none. Just because I have so many interests in a lot of different things. And initially, like growing up, both of my parents were actually teachers. They were high school teachers. And they both told me growing up, like, don't be a teacher. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Just didn't think anything of it, get to college. And I wanted to do engineering right off the bat because I really love like the problem solving aspect of engineering. And then I started taking like all the prereq classes to get into the program I wanted to. And it just never it just wasn't for me. Like I didn't really enjoy any of it. And I was just like, this isn't it. So I was trying to find something to do. Took me a few years, found an education program that kind of worked along the side of technology and engineering. And then from that, it opened up, like I knew that there were other areas in technology with like multimedia and with, more like problem-based learning kind of stuff. And there was a whole lot and I really enjoyed it, loved it. And then when I first started teaching, it was more engineering-based classes. But I have always like in the background along with my college experience, I always loved like the process of photography. I always loved multimedia, graphic design, that kind of stuff. It always piqued my interest. And so I've kind of transitioned over the years in education from more of the engineering to more of like the digital media side of stuff and classes.
What was the love of, like, where did the love of sneakers come from?
I think that's when I was a kid, I grew up in Idaho, not like known for sneaker culture at all, more for potatoes. So we didn't have anything sneaker related up there at all, but I was big into basketball as a kid and loved, watching my favorite athletes like MJ. And then at the time when I really started getting into basketball, it was like the Allen Iversons, the Kobe Bryants, the Vince Carters, all these dudes. And I loved watching them perform, but I also was like, man, those shoes are cool. I play basketball. I want to wear those same shoes that they wear. And then mom and dad would hit you with oh, that's not in our budget. We can't afford that for basketball season. And so that made me want it even more. So, that need and want for sneakers was rooted in, my disappointment as a child, trying to go back and relive those memories. And then since then, now it's more about just I love the beauty, the craftsmanship that go into some of these sneakers, the storytelling that can go on, and then just the community and the people that you can meet just through something as like some people think as silly as footwear. But it's just it's such a cool thing to be able to bridge so many different people together that may not have otherwise come together just over, footwear.
Yeah, there's so many parallels to great education and learning just in hearing you talk about shoes. Right. Like, and I think like one of our big theories at Unrulr is that learning is better when it's a collective, when it's communal, when you feel like you're in it with other people. Right. And
Absolutely.
one of the best ways of doing that as a teacher is showcasing vulnerability or modeling your passion into something and not translating that into your students. And you do such a good job of that. Can you talk about this kind of create your own sneaker project that you did with JSM 801?
Yeah, so I've been teaching this digital media class where, little background, I teach middle school students, so 7th through 9th grade, just the basics of how to use Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and then a little bit of Adobe Premiere, just to kind of give them a base of these creative tools. And when I first started that class, I was like, you know what? Let's just have these kids design sneakers, because kids always comment like about my sneakers. It's always been a great connection piece with my students over the years.
Your epic collection of shoes.
Yeah, back there. But yeah, so I started it because I was like, I just think it'd be fun. Kids are like, I'd see kids just kind of drawing sneakers anyway when they got done with their assignments early or something like that. I was like, you know what, we should make this a project. And then I started the project, and I didn't really have like a pinnacle of, to celebrate some of these kids' creativity. It was just like, cool, you did a good job. Like, we'll vote, and whoever wins, like, I'll give you like a candy bar. Like, it was like, okay, cool, here we go. And then, early last year, I reached out to John, JSM 801, and really loved his work. I was like, hey man, what would it take to get a pair of custom shoes from you? How much does that normally cost? And then he's like, oh no, don't worry about it. You're a local guy in Utah. I love your pictures. How about you take some pictures of what I do, and we'll exchange that for a pair of sneakers. And that started our friendship and our relationship. And then, from there, I approached him later on that year. It's like, hey, I run this student sneaker design competition. It's been kind of like, cool, kids like it, but then it just kind of dies out at the end because there's no like great reward at the end. What would you think if you worked with me and I provided the base shoe and you provided your services to create the winning student shoe in real life, and we can give it to him? He's like, yes, absolutely, yes. So from then, it was just, it was easy working with him, and we've been friends and real close since, and it's been awesome. He looks forward to doing it. And then to hype it up for my students, like, I'll show pictures in some of the videos that I posted on social media of the kid who we did it last year for, and they're like, wait, winner actually gets the shoe? I'm like, yes, you get the shoe, it's in your size, like, you can wear it, it's completely awesome. And then like, it's funny because kids that like normally would maybe then like checked out of class and like not really wanting to engage, they're like, wait, what? I get a chance to design a shoe and it could actually be made in real life? Like, of course, like, I'm going to try. And then they're fully engaged and wanting to do stuff. And it's been awesome.
There's just so much like subject matter experts in the classroom, connecting youth to people in the real world, giving them projects that tap into their interests. You're hitting all of that in this one project. And what I love about it is it works because you authentically connected either via DM or email or text with someone who was in this community with you, right? In this kind of sneakerhead community too. Oh man, what was like the coolest moment of that project for you thus far?
Man, there's so many. I don't think I can narrow it down to just one, but it's just first seeing the kids like reaction class by class of saying like, hey, you guys have a chance of getting your shoe design like made, and like just kids like the mind's just blown. You can see kids' mouths like dropping, and it's just, that was exciting to see. And then when we narrowed it down to the end, to the winner last year, and then going over watching John make the shoe, because I'd been to his shop before and seen him do stuff, but I wanted to document the whole process. Like, I wanted to video him like all the steps that he takes to make it, and then I wanted to show that to my kids so that they could see like the process from like you designing it in Adobe Illustrator and then taking that design and giving it to somebody and seeing them like create it physically, and showing that to my kids was really cool. But then I think the most rewarding part was just going all out when we delivered the sneaker to the kid. He emailed his parents and was like, hey, what's going to be the best way for us to do this? Would it be cool for us to do it at school with his friends? Would it be cool to do it like at your house with like some of his more like closer friends and like in the neighborhood? They chose to do it at their house, so we went over to his house, and John has good connections with the Utah Jazz here, so we got the Jazz Bear mascot involved. He came and had a bunch of swag to give to like all the neighbor kids, which is really cool. And then just seeing like the excitement on the student's face when we just like showed him the shoe, like just pure joy when he saw it, just the smile on his face, smile on his parents' face, everything. Like, it was just, that was it. Like, I could care less if like I got any recognition or anything from that. Like the most satisfying thing was just seeing the joy on his face. And he came back this year wearing those shoes in class. He's like, "Hey, Mr. Dutton, what's up?" Like, you know how sometimes kids are, like, they're not like wanting to fully engage in a conversation, but you could tell he's like, "Hey, like, thanks, man. I appreciate you like doing this for me." So it's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, we talk a ton about joy in learning and creating a culture, you know, almost like I'm a huge like '08 Celtics, Doc Rivers, Ubuntu on the back guy. And then I'm a huge Joe Mazzulla who has this like amazing quote. I prefer agency over efficiency when he's talking about like building teams up. And so much of it is process, like giving, you know, middle schoolers and high schoolers the time to be able to understand process, to document, to reflect. And it seems like you did that in this project. It wasn't just about the end result. There was beauty in the craftsmanship. There was beauty in figuring out, you know, every part of this.
Yeah, and you know, I try to emphasize to the kids too, like, I would love to be able to provide each one of my students with their own custom sneaker like that.
Sure.
It's not possible. I don't have that money, and no one would give me that money. So, but
we'll try to change that. We'll try to get that.
We can try. I mean, I got 120 kids, so it can get expensive. But I think the thing that I tried to, you know, with the students that weren't able to like win in the contest, I wanted to celebrate their success of actually designing something that they're proud of. Because whether other people are going to see what they designed or made and be like proud of it, they should be proud of it, because this is an intro class. Like, you have never touched this software ever in your life.
Totally.
And here you go a few weeks ago, not even knowing like how to even navigate the software at all, to designing a custom sneaker. Like, that's something to be celebrated for these kids. And I tried to celebrate that with them, and then encourage them to, like, when they go on to high school, like, register for these design classes. If this was something that you enjoyed and that you like really want to do, keep doing it. And you're just going to get better and better. And down the road, like, maybe you will work for a footwear company. Even if you don't work for a footwear company, maybe you'll continue and do a design career, and it will be something that's, you know, extremely rewarding, because you stuck with it and it was satisfying to grow and to learn from your mistakes and just keep doing awesome things.
What's your philosophy of education?
I think it's changed since I started teaching. When I started teaching, it was very like, you know, I need to follow all these rules and make sure I'm checking all the boxes that I need to check. And over the years, it's changed to being more, trying to sum it up in one word, providing a lot of autonomy to middle school students, which I feel oftentimes is not the case in other content areas. There's a lot of hand holding, I feel like, and trying to like make sure these kids perform to a certain level. And
totally
just like, okay, I want to teach you these skills, and once you learn these skills, I want you to do something with it, where I'm just taking a step back and letting you do things. If you have like a technical question, sure, I will help you, but I want you to like just try. Just go and try, and if you fail, that's okay. We're in a classroom. There's no consequences for your failure except you learn. And that's been my philosophy ever since, is just give them enough skill that they're comfortable, but then give them a project or an assignment after that that's going to push their skills a little bit further.
Yeah, you know, I see that in you as a content creator and storyteller as well. You know, the stories you tell are about process. You've got your kids. These like, you have 2 sons?
2 boys, yeah.
Yeah, you see them in this, like, you see this family joy, right? And sneakers happen to be one element, you know, that allows you to share that. But even in the content creation, you have this authenticity. Where does that come from? Like, how are those all kind of interconnected?
It's a good question. I think for me, early on in my teaching career, like, I was the shirt and tie teacher that would show up to school every day, and because, you know, I thought that's what I was supposed to do.
Sure, you're rocking the Utah look as well.
Yeah, you know. So I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's how I'm supposed to look as a teacher. That's what everyone says I'm supposed to look like. But inside, that wasn't who I was, right?
Sure.
And I felt like the way that I presented myself to my students wasn't the authentic version of me. And then over the years,
I love that.
change that.
I love
and I wanted to be my authentic self to my students, because how can I expect my students to trust me and to buy into what I'm trying to teach you and tell you if I'm not 100% me in front of you?
You have to model that shit.
Yeah, you do. And so like I keep it 100% real all the time, and I will call them on their bullshit, and I will call them on like anything that they do. We make fun of each other, they make fun of me, I make fun of them. It's like we're a family, you know.
Totally.
It's just back and forth. And I feel like in education, if you're not able to develop that level of trust with your students and them back with you as a teacher, they're not going to buy into anything you have to say. And then to go off that even more, I feel like if you don't give them like the reason why you're doing something, especially these middle school kids, why do I need to learn this? Why do I need to do this? How am I going to use this in my life? It's like, well, I'll show you how you can use this in your life, because we're going to do something that's in the real world. And I try to build up with that. And I don't know. I don't like being like a different version of myself in front of different people, just depending on who they are.
Sure.
So the way I am with my family, that's how I am with my students. And the way I am with everybody that's just how I am. I just try to be me all the time, no matter who the person is or the audience is that I'm talking to.
And that totally comes across. I mean, I follow you on Instagram, like in the content you create, that like I am who I am. And social media is faked authenticity, right? People are constantly faking it, right? And to see the real you, or at least I think I see the real you in the content you create, it's great. I want to transition to Salehi Bembury, who is like a huge influence in how I teach, in how I think about design. For those that don't know, Salehi is it, you know, and I want to just bust out like, and I know you're not supposed to wear shoes, but man, I wear this every day. Like water be the guide. And like every element of him, from his fingerprint, like all of these details, and this is a hike that he went on, right? That totally influenced this space. To me, it's the perfect encapsulation of what you just said, right? I am going to be my authentic self. And I think what draws me and so many others to Salehi is in how he markets and tells the stories of his shoes, in how he designs. There is just this courage and bravery, right? In doing things in a unique and creative way. And I know you love Salehi as well, because I follow you on social media. Can you talk about him? Can you talk about him as an influence?
I love Salehi. So kind of random funny story about him. So when was it? 2 years ago, NBA All-Star Weekend was in Cleveland, and I was with one of my friends. We flew out to go to, it was our first All-Star Weekend experience. Thought it would be cool. We're going to, I think it was like one of the Saturday events, like the Rising Stars. Anyway, we go into the arena, and ticket guy's like, yeah, go this way, whatever. We didn't have great seats, but where the elevator is in the arena, it's the same elevator that takes all the people down to the floor level, you know, courtside seats, and all the people up to the nosebleed seats where we were sitting. We go in there, and my friend's like, looks at me, he's like, is that Salehi Bembury? I'm like, yeah, that's him. And so we're like, hey, like we didn't know what to say. It's like, you're Salehi Bembury. He's like, yeah, hey guys, like totally down to earth, dude. Totally killed the awkward vibe that we like presented, because we were a little starstruck in the moment, you know. But he's such a solid dude, and I love what he's done with footwear. And his collaborations, because he's made a name for himself without partnering with the Nikes, the Jordans, the Adidas, right? Like
with Crocs, bro, with partnering with Crocs, like
with Anta, with Black Brand, like all these brands that like aren't super big in the sneaker footwear industry, but he has made a name for himself because he's authentic to himself and his vision of design. And he can tell stories, and he can show his vision.
He's totally a storyteller.
Yeah, and he's great at it, because he doesn't need a brand to tell his stories. He just tells his stories, and people resonate with it. And he's authentic. He's not like, he doesn't seem like somebody completely untouchable that you can't relate to. Like, he's just seems like a down to earth dude who just wants to do his thing, and it's super relatable.
Yeah, I mean, I use him as a case study when I work with students, and I talk about, that you don't, so much of like lean startup methodology or modern day entrepreneurship is like you build for others. You're constantly searching for product market fit. Salehi builds the fit. Like people are just there for what he's producing because there's so few people that are authentic or have the bravery to do their own thing, right? I'm never gonna be able to afford those. Is it Montclair, the French brand?
Yeah, those ones are crazy.
Those are amazing. Like,
They're
but I will covet them, from afar. And there's such personality in that space as well. So I want you to find two or three, just like pull the headphones off and find, two or three sneakers right now that aren't just, everyone's talking about, but that you truly love and connect with. And I want to really quickly kind of talk about all two or three of them.
Yeah, let me think about this.
I'm just going to put you on the spot.
Yeah. I'm going to go grab some real quick.
Okay.
Hold on.
So bust out the sneaker and kind of tell me the connection to it.
Okay. Couple. I grabbed three.
Okay.
There's once I find one, I'm like, oh wait, then there's that one. There's that one.
Yeah.
There's that one. So probably the first one is this one. Laney Jordan 5s. These have significance. I mean, everyone kind of knows the story. It's Michael Jordan's high school, yada, yada, yada. That's cool. But the thing that finds these personal significant to me is like, again, I told you I grew up in rural Idaho, not known for sneaker culture. These were the first Jordans that I saw like in person. I saw somebody wearing these at a high school basketball game when I was maybe in 8th grade. And I was just like stuck. My eyes were stuck on his feet. Like, what are those? I've never seen those before. I mean, this was the time of East Bay catalogs and we didn't really have the internet to look up like what shoes were. So I didn't know what they were. I didn't know how to get those things. And they were beautiful and I wanted them and I didn't know how to get them. And so that was back in like, I don't know, like 2002, 2001, because that was when the first pair of those released. Flash forward to when I'm in college and they re-released them in 2012. I'm broke as a joke in college, couldn't afford to buy them, so I didn't buy them. And then a couple years into my teaching career, I was looking on eBay like I frequently did at the time for, little gems of sneakers that I could find. And I saw a pair of those that somebody restored. And I was like, okay, I have the money. I'm going to buy them. So it was like this whole full circle moment for me to be able to connect back to that first pair that I saw as a kid, and then being able to be like, man, what were those again? And then in 2012 being like, oh yeah, that's what those were. Crap, I can't have them. And then a few years later being able to get them. It was just like, everyone always asks, like, if you were to get rid of all the shoes in your collection and keep one, I'd keep these because they're just, it's sentiment. It has nothing to do with, the hype that exists in sneaker culture. Other one that I brought, these are the Notre Dunk Highs. These, I can't remember when these released. I want to say it was like 2019, something like that. Anyway, when I first started teaching, I taught a lot of like manufacturing and shop skills. So like prototyping, using all these saws and equipment and everything like that. And Notre did a collaboration with Nike for these to kind of celebrate the blue collar worker, the people who get their hands dirty and learn those very important physical skills in problem solving. And it just instantly resonated because their whole marketing campaign, they shot these in like a shop environment. There was wood everywhere. There was sawdust everywhere. There was all these things.
Love it.
Like, that's my shoe. I need that shoe because that's what I teach. So I got both colorways of those because I had to for that one. And then the other one that's special, and this was from just this last year, these are the Unheard Of brand Adidas Rivalry Lows. So this was done to kind of celebrate the owner of Unheard Of, Phil Lipschitz, his grandma's couch. It looks like a grandma's couch with the, the floral print on there. They got grandma's handwriting to write Adidas here. And then on the back, like the saying that grandma always used to tell him when he was a kid was always be a good boy, because Phil would frequently go over to his grandma's house. And she provided a lot of support for him and his friends growing up. It was just kind of like their safe haven with some of the rougher things that he was dealing with as a child. But just the way that he was able to pull in that significance of the relationship that he had with his grandmother to tell that story on a sneaker, but
Totally.
to tell it in such a way that it resonated with so many people.
Totally.
Because I remember going to my grandma's house and she had a floral couch. It was ugly, and it was great. And I remember grandma having the plastic sleeving over her couch. And
100%
come in.
100%.
These come in, have the plastic sleeve over it.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
So I'm just like, this just connects everything of my childhood, remembering my grandmother, and being able to hear Phil's story and the love and passion that he has for telling that story about his grandmother. Like, it just resonated with so many people in so many ways. And I feel like when people are very intentional about the depth that they tell their stories, it's going to resonate with everyone. You will find ways for, like, people will.
It's culture creating. It's culture creating.
It is.
No, I love that.
So cool.
Oh man. Thank you for those were not the ones I thought you would pull out. So I really love it. So for me, there's two words that I would describe myself as. One is as a storyteller. And I was in like 11 different schools before college, just like constantly had to move over and over again. So I had to be a storyteller, right? I had to try to connect with people really quickly. And this Vans collaboration with Salehi,
yes.
Like, it, to me, this shoe it means identity, right? It's a fingerprint. Like, the symbology, the iconography of the shoe is all about identity. And so, and everything Salehi does is storytelling in so many ways. And so I connect with this shoe on so many levels. And then the other one for me is this Nike collaboration. Is it Tom Sachs?
Uh-huh.
And I think, like, this is a workman shoe, right? Like, his whole ethos is like, let's strip it down. This is the most comfortable shoe I've ever worn in my entire life.
I love it.
Like,
I wear that like at least once a week, because it's just, once you break it in, it's gold.
It's such a gold shoe. And the other word that I would describe myself is craftsman, right? This idea of honing one's craft, finding a skill to grow in. And I can't think of a shoe that epitomizes that more than that as well. I think, like, to sum up this conversation, at Unrulr, in my life, storytelling is an incredible way at creating connection. But it's also a wonderful way to empower middle schoolers and high schoolers to see themselves as learners, to see themselves not as passive, where education is being done to them, but as active, as empowered. When their story, when who they are is represented in the class, when they're able to pull from their identity, there's so much more that you can do. Can you talk about that in your work as a teacher and also as a content creator?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think kind of what you said there just made me think of just, education. It's all about, like, got to get kids ready for this test, got to get kids ready for this test. And it's all about getting kids ready for a test. And we're just trying to, like, fit this square peg into a circle hole sometimes with these kids. And it doesn't always work. And I guess I'm just grateful for what I teach, because I have the freedom to not, like, have to teach to a test. I teach to standards, but it's kind of loose how I can get these kids to accomplish the things that I need to accomplish. And being able to have kids show their personality and their own individuality in the assignments that they do, I think is key in that. Because I have my basic setup for how I structure my class. Like, okay, with this assignment, I need to teach you how to use these tools. And I'm going to teach you how to use these tools by drawing this thing. But the thing that you draw or create doesn't need to look like I do it. This is just how I want to do it. I'm showing you how to use the tools. Like, for example, we drew dinosaurs to help kids learn how to draw with shapes and use the shape builder tool to connect shapes and just do all that. And I was like, this is what I want my dinosaur to look like. You go ahead and make your own dinosaur. And I mean, I had just all these different ranges of dinosaurs. You have kids that are like putting hats on dinosaurs. You have kids that are like, they draw their dinosaurs like, ooh, I want to draw my dinosaur in a car. And there's like driving a car. And it's like all these things, because, like, here's the things that you need to do as far as the skills and the tools you need to learn, but let your creativity run wild and do what you want with it. Because if I give you that foundation of skill, you're comfortable, and then you can go above and beyond that and create something that's really cool and they have fun with it. So I think just being able to tap into each one of these kids' own individuality and to show them that it's okay to, express yourself and to be you the way that you want to be you, is awesome, because it gives them confidence. Because I feel so often that these kids are just like, I got this test, I did horrible on this test, I got homework, blah, blah. And it's just, there's all these negative things that they have to deal with, instead of like, oh, I get to be myself. I'm learning, but I'm also myself, and get to show a side of myself while I'm learning. And that's life as an adult. Like, you're always learning, but you learn how you want to learn. You're not learning how other people want you to learn. And so I'm trying to show that with my students in the classroom, is like, you can learn how you're comfortable learning. You can show it how you want to show it. And the way you do it is awesome. And it doesn't need to be the exact same way for everybody.
Yeah, I love that. Those are awesome words to live by. One or two last questions. What shoe that dropped in 2023 do you love? And I'm not asking for your favorite, but what is one that you were just like, yes?
Man, that is tough. There were a lot.
There were a lot.
I think one that really resonated with me, and I think people didn't like it because of, here, I'll just go grab them real quick, because I think it'll be better to tell it as I show it at the same time.
Yeah.
So we all know Jordan collaborations, specifically the Union Jordan collaborations. Everyone loves like the original Jordan 1s that they did. They love the 4s, but this shoe was very polarizing last year, the Union Jordan 1, because people did not care for the footscape weave that goes all the way around the shoe. But I think some consumers missed the storytelling that Chris Gibbs and his wife tried to tell with that, because this whole collaboration it's between Union, his wife's beauty supply company, and Jordan. So people forget that it's with his wife's beauty supply company, and it's about how they fell in love in the summer of '96, I think it was. But this weave on here, at least for me, I kind of thought right away, it's like, oh, this represents their lives and how they wove their lives together throughout their time up until now. And it just comes full circle. Like, it never ends, right? Like, their stories continuing to grow, they're continuing to weave and tell stories and do amazing things. And that's what I was like, wow, okay, I see that. I hope other people see that. Even if they don't, like, I love that. I love just that metaphor of like weaving your life together with somebody else through, like, just, it continues. And they did it through a shoe. And it's beautiful to me for that reason, because it might not be like the most aesthetically pleasing to look at that for some people, but there's more to it than just the way that it looks. Like, that was intentional. They didn't just throw that out there to throw that on there. They put that on there to tell their story and continue to tell their story years after that shoe, is released.
I love that. My story is not as good as yours, but it's the Action Bronson New Balance 990 V6s rather. Yes. It's such a funky shoe. Like, he's gone on this personal journey of like health and wellness, and he's just an amazing character. And it totally comes across in the shoe. Like, that's a wacky, incredible shoe. And to me, it embodies all that's awesome about sneaker culture too. To end the podcast, what is one like call to action that you have for educators, either from listening to this or just in general?
Call to action. Let the kids be kids, and let them be confident in who they are, and try to, to embrace that and foster their individuality and let that grow, no matter what your content is that you teach. Because, these kids, one day, these kids are going to be, leaders of our country, leaders of our communities, all these things. And being able to tap into their unique points of view from their generation I think is if we don't do that, it's a missed opportunity as educators
Totally.
just to try to do the same thing year after year after year.
Yep.
Evolve, adapt with these kids and celebrate, their unique perspectives in life and the way that they see things that might be different than you.
Andy Dutton, one of probably the cooler teachers in the history of the earth. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, AD_sneaks. I guess you can find me on TikTok. I'm not very active on TikTok at all because I don't like that platform very much, but that's a conversation for another day. And you can find me, look up my name on LinkedIn, Andy Dutton. Shoot me a DM, whatever. I'm always loving to connect with people and chat with people.
You can find us on YouTube. You can find us soon on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And, at Unrulr, we were created for the Andy Duttons of the world, for him and his students to be able to document their process, to build real multimedia evidence of what they do. If you're interested, visit us at unrulr.com. Please like, subscribe, share, do all the things that you're supposed to do with these videos. But please connect with Andy. A huge mahalo. Thanks.